All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we are diving into a story that'll remind you why we always got to look past the surface.
Absolutely.
Remember that viral video
Yeah.
of the woman yelling at a Lamborghini driver? The one where she was saying he hit her car, but the internet saw like a pretty clear rear end collision?
Oh, I remember that one.
Well,
Yeah.
that story has taken like a really sharp turn, and we are here to break down the new evidence that like totally reframes this whole thing.
It's a perfect example of how fast narratives can change online when new information comes out.
Yeah.
But before we get to that twist, let's rewind back to the initial analysis by YouTuber
Oh, wow.
Think Insurance.
Okay.
He's an insurance professional. And his breakdown of that first video before any additional evidence came out, it's actually like a great place to start.
Hold on, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So we're starting with an analysis that's basically outdated now.
Right.
What's the point of that?
It highlights how easily we jump to conclusions based on limited info. Something I'm sure you've seen a million times online.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Remember, this YouTuber had no idea that another video even existed.
Right.
He was working just with the footage that the Lamborghini driver posted, which showed what looked like a simple fender bender at a gas station.
Yeah.
But even then, he picked up on some details that, looking back now, become even more intriguing.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me. What did he see?
Well, for starters, he pointed out the Lamborghini driver's behavior leading up to that gas station encounter.
Okay.
Remember that part where the driver speeds up, like as a light turns yellow, almost hitting a cyclist?
Yeah.
The YouTuber suggested this could be like a sign of reckless driving, even before the Audi driver Maddie Gilsole came into the picture.
So there's already a suggestion that the Lamborghini driver wasn't exactly innocent in all this.
Exactly. And then there's the whole question of, like, the damage to the Audi.
Right.
The woman claimed that the Lamborghini hit her before that whole gas station thing happened. But she never showed the front of her car in her video.
Right.
Think insurance?
Yeah.
Even like speculated that there might be damage she wasn't showing, which could be evidence of a prior collision.
Okay, but at this point, it's all still just speculation, right?
Right.
We're dealing with a he said, she said situation.
Right. And Think Insurance even broke down potential insurance scenarios based on this limited evidence,
Okay.
suggesting that both parties could potentially be found at fault.
Interesting.
But then 2 days later, boom.
What?
Maddie Gilsole uploads her own security camera footage from that alleged first encounter.
And that's where, like, everything changes, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I remember seeing that video, and it seemed to show the Lamborghini running a red light, narrowly missing that cyclist we talked about.
Yes.
And, like, potentially even sideswiping her Audi.
It completely flicks the script.
Right.
Suddenly, the woman who is being, like, totally vilified online for, like, seemingly making up a story has evidence that seems to back up her claims.
It's wild.
It is.
But didn't her initial video claim she was hit at a red light? I thought Think Insurance said that she stopped properly at a yellow.
You're right. There are some inconsistencies.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this story so fascinating. And honestly, a little unsettling.
For sure.
We have two videos, two very different perspectives. And even within those perspectives, some details don't totally line up.
So what are we supposed to make of all this?
Right.
How do we even begin to figure out what really happened?
That's where things get really interesting for you.
Okay.
Think about the motivations at play here.
Okay.
The Lamborghini driver posted his video first,
Right.
which showed him as like the victim.
Right.
Why didn't he release footage of this first encounter? Was he trying to, like, control the story?
But couldn't you say that waiting 2 days to post her video actually made Mrs. Gilsole look more suspicious?
Oh, yeah, totally.
It gave people time to form a bad opinion based on the Lamborghini driver's video.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Was she strategically waiting to, like, build anticipation, or was she just gathering evidence and talking to her lawyer?
Right.
We can only guess.
Yeah.
And remember, there's another perspective. We haven't even talked about the cyclist.
Oh, right. There's no footage from the cyclist's point of view, and we haven't heard their side of the story.
Right.
It's like a puzzle with some key pieces missing.
Exactly. And it's a puzzle that millions of people tried to solve online,
Yeah.
often with some very strong opinions.
Oh, I bet.
Okay, so let's talk about the internet's reaction to all of this.
Oh, yeah.
You know how it goes, a story like this blows up online and suddenly
Everyone's got an opinion.
everyone's a judge and jury.
Yeah.
And in this case, the initial reaction was like brutal.
Yeah, it was bad.
People were just tearing Maddie Gilsole apart in the comments.
Calling her all kinds of names.
A liar, an attention seeker, someone trying to take advantage of a rich Lamborghini owner, you name it.
It's like what they say, right? A pile-on.
Yeah, it's a classic example of how, like, confirmation bias plays out online.
Yeah.
You see a video that seems to confirm, like, your existing beliefs.
Right.
In this case, maybe it's some ideas about entitled women or aggressive drivers, whatever.
Right.
And you just go with it.
Yeah, you make up your mind right away.
You look for stuff that supports your view, and you ignore anything that challenges it.
So people just saw what they wanted to see.
Exactly.
And then they go and share those views everywhere on Twitter, on Instagram.
Everywhere.
Yep.
But then Mrs. Gilsol posts her video,
Yeah.
and, like, the whole story flips.
Yeah.
Suddenly those same commenters are like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Backtracking big time.
Yeah, admitting they jumped to conclusions.
You gotta kind of admire the internet's ability to just, like, completely change direction in, like, a matter of hours.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It really shows something important about this digital age.
Yeah.
You know, information spreads fast,
Right.
and opinions can change just as quickly. But it also makes you think, how do we, like, deal with this constant flood of information? How do we keep from, like, getting tricked by our own biases? Especially when we're being bombarded with, like, little snippets of stories and, like, super emotional commentary.
It's a tough one.
It is.
I mean, you see a video, it seems pretty clear-cut, so you react.
It's like instinct.
Yeah.
And that's why it's more important now than ever to, like, learn to think critically,
Yeah.
to stop for a second, to question things,
Uh-huh.
to look for, like, different perspectives
Yeah.
before you decide what to believe.
Right.
This whole Lamborghini thing is a perfect example of why that's so important.
Makes you think about that whole trial by social media thing.
Totally.
Like, people were ready to condemn this woman just based on, like, a few seconds of edited video without even thinking that there might be more to the story.
And it brings up a huge question.
Yeah. What is it?
How do we balance the right to free speech
Mm-hmm.
with the responsibility to, like, not spread misinformation and maybe even hurt people? Think about it. What if Mrs. Gilsol didn't have that second video?
I mean, that's scary to think about.
It is.
Her reputation could have been ruined just because of that first incomplete story.
And it shows the power dynamics involved here.
Yeah.
The Lamborghini driver, he got to tell his side of the story first.
By posting that video.
Right.
Huh?
He had this platform, and he used it to present his version of what happened.
But Mrs. Gilsol was able to fight back at least a little bit by releasing her own footage.
Yes, exactly. And that's where the legal stuff gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah. How so?
Her video, if it's real, you know,
Uh-huh.
could totally change what happens with any, like, lawsuits and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Remember that part where the Lamborghini driver speeds up when the light turns yellow, almost hitting the cyclist?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The part that Think Insurance said might be reckless driving.
Right. That footage could be used to argue that the Lamborghini driver was being reckless even before he ran into Mrs. Gilsol, potentially, like, shifting some of the blame for the accident.
So even though she, like, technically hit him from behind, he might still be partially responsible because of what he was doing before that.
It's definitely possible.
Wow.
And then there's the slander thing.
Right.
Ms. Gilsol specifically talked about that in her video.
Yeah.
She said the Lamborghini driver, like, lied about her and it hurt her reputation.
I remember that.
And she seemed pretty upset about all the stuff people were saying online.
I would be too.
If she can prove that those things he said were false and that they actually caused her harm,
Uh-huh.
she could sue him for defamation.